Hey guys, sorry we're doing it like this again today. Hopefully through this video you'll be able to learn how to use what we're talking about today. Today we're talking about the law of cosines. The law of cosines works when you have, if you look at this very first spot down here, when you have side angle side or side side side. So if the picture looks like that, you're going to have to use law of cosines to find the things that are missing. Again, this is for when you don't have a right triangle. So anytime it's not a right triangle, you can find all the missing parts using the law of cosines when it's side angle side or side side side. And then as we looked at before, angle side angle 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 side and side side angle you can use law of sines for. So the law of cosines is right up here. You won't have to memorize this. I will give you the formulas. So you just have to be able to use it, and I will typically only give you the first formula, because the whole key here is that you just have to remember that you're always going to start the first thing. The first thing squared that's by itself is always going to be with the side that's across from the given angle or across from the angle you're trying to find. So let's try some problems here. So the first type of problem we're going to look at is solving a side angle side triangle. Pretty much the rule with this is you're going to use the law of cosines twice, and then to find the third angle, you're going to add and subtract from 180. So let me go ahead and draw this picture. So there's the picture, and if I look at it, that is side angle side. So this is what tells me I'm going to be using law of cosines today. Whenever it's side angle side or side side side, I'm going to be using law of cosines. So to start, we start with the side across from the given angle. So this is side A here, which is what we're going to start with, and that's what we want to find first. So it's going to be a squared equals b squared plus c squared, 7 squared plus 8 squared, doesn't matter the order you put those in, minus 2 times b times c, and that's always cosine of that angle across from the side you start with, so it's the cosine of 120. Now for this particular problem, this whole side you can type in your calculator all at one step. So that's what you want to do next and get a decimal. So we'll have a squared is equal to, so I type that in, I got 169. And then your next step is to take the square root to get a all by itself, because we want to solve for just a, not a squared. And for this one it works out evenly. That's not always going to happen, but we get a is 13. And then we could write that in the picture. Alright, so that completes step 1. We used law of cosines to find the side opposite the angle. Step 2 is to find one of the other angles by using law of cosines again. So you can pick which one you want to start with, it doesn't matter. I'm going to try and find B. So if I want to find B, I actually have to start with the side across from B, which is 7. So it's going to be 7 squared equals 8 squared plus 13 squared. Minus 2 times 8 times 13, cosine of, now for this one, I don't know what that is, that's what I'm trying to find, it's going to be cosine of b. So now we have to talk about how to solve this. To solve this, you really got to solve it in, you got to simplify in chunks here. So it's going to be 49. Then you want to simplify that chunk. You're going to do 8 squared plus 13 squared, which is 233. Minus, then you're going to simplify this chunk here, which is 208, and then we have cosine b. So now you need to really make sure you're using your algebra. The algebraic step I should be taking here is to subtract the 233 first. That's what's farthest away from b. We're trying to get into b now, so I'm going to get negative 208 cosine b equal to negative 184, and then I have to divide negative 208 divided by negative 208, and then kind of like when we did for cosine or law of sines when we were finding the angle, you need to make sure you give me 4 decimal places when you divide that. And that turns into 0.8846, and then if I want to solve for b, I have to do cosine negative 1, and then just make sure your calculator is in degree mode. I don't remember if I said that yesterday, but you need to make sure you're in degree mode to get that answer. We should have already been there from what we did on Monday together, so then you just go ahead and you type this in your calculator, and it will give you the answer for that angle. You should get 27.8 degrees. So that gives me my second answer. I just need one more. The last thing that's missing is angle C. So to find angle C, it's real easy. You just add the two angles we now know. That's 147.8, and subtract from 180. And we get 32.2 degrees for angle C. And please make sure you're labeling this as you go. That's something that I want to see in our upcoming quizzes and tests. Let's try another one. So this is going to be a side problem. So what we're looking at is how we solve that. It's pretty much the same process, just looking for different things first. So this is triangle ABC. If I label it real quick, this is 8, this is 10, and this is 5. The one thing you want to make sure you do for your first one is you should always start with the angle opposite the longest side. That's what I'm going to find first. So I'm going to find B first here. So if I want to find B, I have to start with the side that's across from it. That's going to go first. So it's going to be 10 squared equal to the other 2 squared minus 2 times 5 times 8. And then it'll be cosine of B, because that's what we're trying to find. This is similar to the last thing that we did, where we're going to have to simplify this in chunks here. So 10 squared is 100. Then we're going to do the next little chunk here, 5 squared plus 8 squared, which is 89. Then we do the next chunk there in front of the cosine. We're going to multiply all those numbers together. It's going to be minus 80 cosine B. And then we start to solve this. Moving the 82 first, you get 18 is equal to negative 80 cosine B, and then we divide by negative 80. And we're going to get cosine B equal to negative 0.225. And then our last step to solve for the angle is to do cosine negative 1. So I should get angle B is equal to, that's 103 degrees. So there's my first answer. Now what do I do for the next one? It says use law of sines again. So once we decided it was the law of cosines problem, which I didn't write in, but we knew because this is side, that it's law of cosines. So once we do that, we're just going to use law of cosine again to find another angle. So this one, it doesn't matter which one you start with. I usually will then go for the one across from the next largest one. So I'm going to find angle A right now by starting with 8 instead. So it's going to be 8 squared is equal to 5 squared plus 10 squared minus 2 times 5 times 10 cosine A. I'm just going to go through and solve this. So it'll be 64 equal to, do this chunk, 125, minus, do this chunk, 100, cosine A. Now we continue to solve this here. First step is to subtract the 125. We get negative 61 equal to negative 100 cosine A. And then we divide by negative 100. And we get cosine A is equal to 0.61. And then we have to do cosine negative 1 to figure out what A is. And we should get A is 52.4 degrees. So now we have angle A, so the only thing we're missing is the last angle, angle C, so this step is always easy. Add the two angles we just found. 103 plus 52.4 gives me 155.4, and subtract from 180. We should get 24.6 degrees, and that is angle C. So hopefully this is helping you. I have 2 more problems to go, and these should be a little bit easier because you don't have to find everything. Alright, so this is just an application problem using the law of cosines. So these are similar to what we did with the law of sines. You need to find the distance from A to B in this picture to the nearest yard. So I'm just going to go ahead and call that an X. Actually, if you wanted to call it C instead, you can. I'm just going to put an X there. So I want to find that. That's actually the side already across from the given angle. So that's what I'm going to start with. X squared is equal to 65 squared plus 105 squared. 2 times 65 times 105 times the cosine of that angle across from what we're trying to find, 80 degrees. So this goes back to the very first problem we did. These are all numbers. Whenever those are all numbers, you're just going to type the whole thing in your calculator. And we get x squared is equal to 12,879.7. And then the last step is to take the square root here to figure out what x is, and that will give you your answer. I get 113.4, so it's just 113 to the nearest yard, 113 yards. Alright, one more problem about area. When we did law of sines, we did a formula where you could find the area of a triangle if it was a side angle side problem. So this one is if it's a side 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 problem, how you can find the area even when it's not a right triangle, when it's an oblique triangle. So this is what's called Heron's formula. There's lots of cool stuff if you Google it on the internet that you could find. We're just going to practice using it. So the first thing you have to find is, if you notice in the formula there's this S thing. S is half of the perimeter, so you have to find that first. So S is going to be 1/2 of 6 plus 16 plus 18, which is 1/2 of 40. So S is really 20 here. And then we can go ahead and plug into that area formula that says it's the square root of 20 times 20 minus A times 20 minus B times 20 minus C. And we get the square root of 20 times 14 times 4 times 2. And then that's going to be the square root of 2240. And then you just take the square root on your calculator, and that gives you the area. You get 47.3 meters squared for the area. Alright. Good luck on the homework, and hopefully I will see you all tomorrow.